You ever just wake up one day and you're like, today I'm going to choose chaos? Y'all, I know that Halloween fans are some of the most opinionated lot out there. And part of that is because, I fundamentally believe part of that is because, A, it's an OG. You're talking about one of the grandfathers of modern day horror. You couple that with the fact that Halloween is a choose your own adventure sort of continuity. You get to custom build the timeline. And that's part of what I love about Halloween. I love the fact that everybody gets their flavor. You can go 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. You can go 1, 2 H2O resurrection if you want to punish yourself. And then for those of you that cannot stand the sibling arc, you finally have your day in the sun with one and then the David Gordon Green trilogy. It's really up to you what preferred series of events that you want to make out of Halloween. That being said, for me, I have a longer relationship with the sequels than I do with the original. I've talked about it before. I saw the Halloween franchise out of order. I remember seeing 2 and 3 first, and I was very confused. I watched the second one, and I'll talk about why the second one made me fall in love with Michael Myers. But then I watched the third one, and I'm like, why no mask man? Why only kids in masks and like cult type stuff? And then 4 is permanently a fixture in my adolescence around Halloween because of AMC. That though 4 and 5, and then later 6 would get added onto that. They're not perfect movies, but they are nostalgic. They are what I grew up with, and I think even though they are flawed, they are still really a solid trilogy with highs and lows. Now, this is not going to be a reappraisal of 4, 5, and 6 because many channels bigger than mine, more well done than mine, more polished than mine have done those. And that's great. I love that those movies are getting their day in the sun, just like 3. I love the fact that 3 is getting its day in the sun because the biggest sin that movie made was the fact that it called itself a Halloween movie and didn't have Michael Myers. It wasn't called Halloween. I think people would absolutely adore that movie for what it did. Now, my 2 cents is that I think the franchise, not Halloween 1, but the franchise as a whole, needs Laurie and Michael to be civil. I think the David Gordon Green trilogy proved that if you take away the sibling arc, the whole thing becomes plotting. The whole thing just becomes tedious. And with adding that subplot of the sibling arc, you actually give stakes and weight and character motivation. And I know that there is a subsect of fans that think that that's exactly the problem. And if you are that, awesome. You've got your pick of the litter when it comes to Halloween movies. For me, I think 1 and 2 are packaged. Every single time that I watch Halloween, I make it a point to watch 2 because it's like part 1 and part 2. It's one story told without a breath. The first film ends mid-screen. Loomis fires, Michael vanishes, and Haddonfield keeps breathing in the dark. 2 picks up literally seconds later. And that continuity is the secret sauce. It is the magic trick. Instead of the sequel feeling like an appendage, like an add-on, like a cash grab, it becomes the back half of the same heart-pounding narrative. No time jump, no reset, just the camera turning the corner and finding the terror still coming forward. Not to mention, it's 2 complementary tones with one rising line of dread. 78 is the slow paced knife kill. Patient compositions, prowling POV shots, ball leaks, blue-black shadows that let your imagination do the heavy lifting for you. Part 2 is the pressure cooker. You're turning the volume all the way up to 11. You've got tighter hallways. You've got suffocating spaces. You've got fluorescent lighting and a more aggressive score. It is nastier. It is more aggressive. Watched together, that shift is not a clash of styles. It is an escalation. The first half stalks, the second half pounces. It feels like inhale, exhale, creeping suspense resolving into a brutal, claustrophobic sprint. Haddonfield transforms from an open suburb to a death trap. In 1, the suburbs are wide open, front lawns, sidewalks, windows that you can see through, yet danger still slips in. In 2, the setting contracts to a nearly empty hospital, long corridors, locked doors, humming machines. As a double feature, you watch safety itself get redefined. The places we trust, home then hospital, are revealed as stage sets for the shape. That spatial progression makes the single night arc feel authored, not accidental. Now, I know purists out there, people who cannot stand the brother sister arc, are screaming at their screens right now. He didn't mean for that to be a thing. And I know sometimes you stumble your way into success. That's just the reality of creating art. Sometimes you make something and you don't realize how important it is. And again, we've seen an example of what happens when you take that piece of the equation out. And you know what? I think it has redeeming qualities But overall, I just don't think that there's enough meat on the bone to build anything that has a wide breadth out of it that's compelling. You might get a sequel out of it, but not anything with legs. So you kind of need a reason why this menacing figure is continuing to press forward if the idea is that Michael is still coming after Laurie. The character arcs across these two movies are actually complete in one and two. Dr. Loomis isn't just the prophet of doom shouting into the wind. Across both films, he becomes like Ahab, chasing his white whale into the fire. Laurie's journey from babysitter, resourcefulness, to trauma, numb, survivor lands harder when you don't pause between the movies. Her quiet resolve in the hospital post attack feels like the only believable aftershock to the first film's terror. Together, their arcs end, not just pause for another sequel. The mythology is expanded just enough. Part two adds the familial reveal to incredible division and sprinkles the pure evil idea with a touch of destiny. On its own, that twist can feel like retrofitting. Paired immediately after the first film's minimalist evil, it plays like an Act Two revelation, especially when you consider that Michael got back up at the end. It doesn't explain Michael away, it reframes the pursuit as inevitable, tightening the thematic screws without drowning the story in lore. The same signature visual language carries over. It's elegant, there are gliding camera movements, cool color temperatures, negative space that lets your eye search and fear what it's going to find. The score evolves into piano minimalism, from piano minimalism to sharper synth edges. But those motifs thread straight through. Even the sound design, the heavy breathing, the distant phones, the echoing shoes on tile bridge the films together. You feel authorship, not just brand. If you imagine these as a single 3 hour cut, the beats land exactly where a traditional 3 act structure wants them. Act one, Halloween. Startling setup, first kills Laurie's brush with death. Act two is the start of two. The town reels after this masked killer has wreaked havoc. The stalking is still happening, but in a new location. Michael's path narrows, the hospital becomes a maze. Act three is part two's back, the reveal, the siege, and a final confrontation that actually closes the night. That invisible structure is why watching them back to back feels so right. It's not indulgent, it's a rhythm. The first movie's ending is legendary ambiguity, but as a two-parter, two plays like the only honest terminus from this particular night. Loomis's sacrifice, Laurie's exhausted silence, the smoldering mask. It's operatic without betraying the original's restraint. You can stop there and feel complete. There are other sequels I love, but this is its own continuity. One and two together is a time that you can just watch and be done there. I enjoy the later timelines for what they try, but the 1-2 package has a purity of it. No decades later exposition, no meta commentary, just one very bad Halloween that starts on a leaf strewn street and ends with fire. The shape isn't explained. You don't know all of the particulars behind Michael. He endures, and that endurance hits harder when you experience it in real time. So, yeah, I don't just like Halloween 1 and 2 together. I think they belong together. The first gives you the primal nightmare, and the second seals you inside of it. Watched as a single, relentless evening, they become not two slashers, but one classic American horror tragedy, told from dusk till dawn. This is, in all totality, a presentation of the death of innocence. Everything starts off innocent enough for Laurie, and then the past comes after her, literally. Her heritage comes after her, literally. And it reshapes who she is. The problem that I have with 2018, because essentially that's what they did, was 2018 in and of itself, there wasn't what one and then 2018 by itself isn't enough meat on the bone. I really think that the David Gordon Green trilogy would have done much better. I could see a world where you could go 1 to 2018. Now, obviously, 2018 went out of its way to disconnect the familial thing, and so it doesn't all work out. But like, if they didn't do that and they just kept it brother and sister, and 1 and 2 happened, And it's just this idea that he's going to come. He doesn't come back from jail. He just comes back unexplainably. I think that would do even better than H2O. I love H2O. It's because it's right in the same lane as Scream, and so there's a lot that I love about it. But I think that could have become legendary to do one more and have it be the end cap of that. Now, obviously, that's not what we got, and awesome if that's what that trilogy is what you love. But those two together take the naive innocence of the late 70s and show you how evil Phillips. So let me know what you think. Let me know what your preferred timeline of Halloween is down below. Make sure that you check out the rest of this month's spooky content. But until next time, stay spooky.